Let's move on to the final video slash session, whatever you want to call this, for the S9802 teddy, the robe. It is going to come together so quickly, so fast. Such a simple, easy DIY project. All of the steps you have already done. Fold over elastic, straight stitches. So I'm not going to get into those steps I'm not going to dive deep into those steps. I'm just going to give you a quick lowdown of how it comes together. Again, I'm loosely going by the instructions. This just provides a different method of operation or order of operations. The first step is that you are going to sew right sides together. You're going to sew the shoulder seams. Back stitch at the beginning and the end, use a straight stitch. I am using a gingham cotton for two reasons. One is that to show, actually just one reason. One is to show that you can use a stretch or non-stretch fabric. This is such a loose fitting garment that it won't affect fit if you decide to use a stretch or non-stretch. Yeah, I did have two reasons. Two is that it also shows that even though a robe technically is innerwear, if you make it out of a gingham cotton, you could use it as like a beach cover up or something to wear with like jeans and a white tee. So lots of options with this, with the robe. Such a quick DIY. So first up is to sew the shoulder seams. And then while you're at it, if you have a serger, you can serge those seams as well. Also is to assemble the bottom ruffle. Or not ruffle, the bottom lace panels. Those come in 3 pieces, so there's one for the back, 2 for the front. So you want to assemble those, straight stitch, back stitch at the beginning and the end. You won't serge this because your serger will probably eat through it, but you'll press the seam allowances to one side and just top stitch it down. So I'm gonna go do that. I will show you the finished product and then we'll move on to like the last step. There are literally like 2 or 3 steps in this, which is fantastic. Okay, so I have sewn the shoulder seams. I also did a serge to finish the seam allowances. If you don't have a serger, totally fine. You can press the seam allowances to one side, do a nice top stitch. And I also went ahead and did the next 2 steps because I think it's easier to show the after rather than trying to explain it before. The first one is that after I sewed the shoulder seam, I attached the lace panel to the shoulder. Now per the pattern instructions, you can seam it, just straight stitch, back stitch at the beginning and the end, finish it with your preferred finishing method. Or what I did is I used a small zigzag and I sewed along the scallop edge of the lace and then I cut back underneath to give it a nice little me-made touch, nice decorative touch. You don't have to do that, but I want to show that to you. Also, for the front neckline, I added a serge. There are several ways that you can finish the neckline. You could do a double turn. If you wanted, you could finish it with fold over elastic, which is what the instructions tell you to do. That's great for really fine fabrics where it's really hard to turn under to do like a 1/4 inch seam allowance or a double 1/4 inch seam allowance where you turn it once, then turn it twice. So what I did is I did a serge, and what I will do, not at this step, but in the next step, is that I will just turn it under and do a top stitch. So once you've completed sewing on the panel, the lace panel to the shoulder, you will then put right sides together and sew the side seam from the bottom edge all the way to the sleeve. Back stitch at the beginning and the end, finish it however you want to, and then you will attach the lace panel to the bottom edge, straight stitch, whatever finishing method you prefer for the seam allowances. And then the last step is to finish the neckline. So I am going to then turn back the seam allowances to give a nice top stitch. You might be adding fold over elastic. You might be doing a double turn as well. So I'm gonna go do those and then show you the finished garment. Okay, so here is the finished robe. One thing to consider is that, as you can see, the front portion of the robe flips open. So if I come in here, you'll see that I finished this with a serge. I might go back and finish it and double turn it. If you're working with like a plain black fabric and you serge it with a black serge, you won't be able to see that. But since it flips open, you'll be able to see the serge if you do that application. So another reason why you might want to do fold over elastic versus a serge or do a double turn. But it really isn't that noticeable. I might go back and do it just because it'll bother me. The bottom edge is finished. Again, I just turned it back once, the lace. Trying to keep my camera as steady as possible. I just turned back the lace, did a nice top stitch. Didn't want to serge that portion because it's just too delicate. Attached the bottom lace to the bottom edge, folded the seam allowances up, and then did a top stitch, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, this is such a quick and easy DIY project that can be worn with the 9802 teddy or just by itself over a bathing suit, over jeans.